the UMass Lowell career record past Dwayne Rolison. He's the, as I say, all-time leader in wins. There would have been a few more because we would have beaten BU and then gone on to a Hockey East championship, played in the NCAA tournaments. We should put an asterisk next to that 58. He had 9 shutouts, backstopped the team to the 2017 Hockey East Tournament Championship. He's one of 10 semifinalists for the Mike Richter Award. He was the team MVP, and as I said, a couple of weeks back, finished up his final exam and then signed with the New York Rangers. We congratulate Tyler for that. And I guess turning things over to you, Tyler, I'd simply start off by saying just some general thoughts on 4 years at UMass Lowell.
Yeah, I guess, well, when I first came in as a freshman, it was sort of like my first time leaving home. So everything was kind of a little bit of a culture shock for me, growing up in sort of a smaller town and then coming to Lowell. I guess the first year was kind of just ran with it. We had like a really good team like CJ, Gambo. I'm sure you guys all remember those guys. And so that was a really fun year. Obviously had a lot of success. And then after that, just continued to work with our goalie coaches, Ellsworth, Pagliaro, and Norm. I don't know, made some great friendships along the way. Got a chance to live with a bunch of different guys. And yeah, these last 4 years just been a blast. Obviously, I wish we could have had a longer playoffs, sort of just the icing on the cake for the last 4 years. I thought we'd be able to make a run at it, but it wasn't in the cards, I guess.
I'm curious, you mentioned over the 4 years, came in as a freshman, first time you'd been away from home. You feel like you're a different guy? Did you change a great deal over the 4 years, you think?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when I first came in, I'd never made a meal for myself. My mom was always cooking and stuff. So even just like doing my own laundry, like stuff like that, obviously you mature like really quick. And I know the first year we just like ate at the calf, so it wasn't that bad. I mean, all we had to do was go down the stairs and we were pretty much all set up. But yeah, these last few years just living on our own. I know like me, Kenny, O'Neill, we were making dinner every day and I don't know, just doing stuff like that. So yeah, definitely a different person than when I first came in.
One of the fans, Robert Flanders, says, besides the Saugus Center and the TD Garden, what was your favorite arena in which to play and why?
I always like playing at BC. I think we've had quite a bit of success there over my 4 years. And obviously, like, they're a good team. So it's one of them, like, the better teams in the league are definitely more fun to play than, say, like, not to knock Merrimack, but usually it's kind of dead in there and, you know, it's not as, like, much fun of an atmosphere as, like, getting all the fans together in, like, BC or, like, an arena like that.
I will note, no question attached to this, but John Krumloff says, thank you to the Great Wall of Lowell for sharing your time with the Riverhawk fans once again. And I will note, kind of following up on that, you and I know your teammates have had a very good relationship with Riverhawk fans over the years.
Yeah, my pleasure, I guess. You guys are made playing these last 4 years awesome. I think we've had the best fans, obviously, in all of Hockey East. We've led attendance like maybe 3 or 4 of the years that I've been here. And when we get a big team to come in, I know that place is just juiced and it's a really fun atmosphere to play in front of you guys. So thank you guys.
You mentioned the fans, and I don't know specifically what you're seeing on your computer, but I know I look up and I see some fans in goalie equipment. I saw some earlier that had various backdrops designed, I suppose, to reflect what life as a goaltender is like. And I'm just curious, when you were a kid, were the goalies that were your heroes and you'd go and wear equipment and pretend you were them?
Well, weirdly enough, like when I first started playing hockey, I didn't want to be a goalie at all. So we would do like this tight rotation where like everybody had to be goalie once. And so I tried it out that one time and just sort of fell in love with it ever since. I think when I was younger, my idol was Eddie Belfour. So I always loved his gear and like the eagles on his helmet and stuff. So that kind of inspired me, and yeah, I just kind of been stuck in it ever since.
You mentioned the eagles on the helmet. I should note, and you and I've talked about this, but you designed your own helmet to represent a variety of things that have been significant to you. And I don't know if you wanted to tell those that have joined this Zoom meeting why what was on your helmet was on your helmet.
Oh yeah, I guess most notably, I had the wall from the Pink Floyd album. It's kind of cool. Sort of worked with the last name. On the back, I had like the Canadian leaf with like the bottom half tomato field for like Canada, because or for Leamington, because we're the tomato capital of Canada. And then top half of it was like the little skyline, which was pretty cool. And then inside was just like decorated with like um hawk wings, and then I had like the big hawk like on the top crest of the helmet. So yeah.
I know it attracted a lot of attention. This is a question that was emailed in by John Ting. He's a professor of civil engineering. He couldn't attend this today, but he had planned to, and thus submitted a question by email. He says, first of all, congratulations on succeeding both academically and athletically. You and your parents should be very proud of all that you've accomplished in the past 4 years. He says, my question is, what advice or words of wisdom would you offer to a recruit who is interested in studying engineering and excelling in D1 hockey at UMass Lowell? And he also says he wishes you the best in all future endeavors, both as a National Hockey League goaltender and in mechanical engineering.
Yeah, well, I think I've answered this question to some recruits that have been thinking about it before. I know Blackman, when he first came in, he was thinking about engineering. I think the biggest thing that helped me was just like making friends with the kids in my classes. I know like the first couple of years I was like kind of just stuck. Like I was hung out with my hockey buddies and stuff and sort of did my work on my own. And then when stuff started to get hard, I realized like, okay, like I need to make friends with some of the kids that are going through the same stuff that I'm going through. And I think that was sort of the biggest help for me, just having other engineers that were like smart in my classes, just helping me along these last couple of years has been a huge difference maker.
From Jared, the question comes, which team did you dread facing the most, or any specific player that you might have dreaded facing?
Yeah, I don't really know for that one. I tried to never really focus on the opposing players as much, because then I think if you give like a player too much credit, then as soon as they get the puck, you're already thinking like in the back of your mind, oh, like what's he gonna do? Instead of just like sort of reading and reacting and just like going with the flow during the game. One of the toughest players I think to play against was Greenway when he was on BU. I mean, he's just a big guy, and I think like those tall guys, their shots are a little bit harder to read. So if I had to pick one person, it'd probably be him.
Another question from the audience from, I don't know who BLO3 is, but it says, what was your favorite part of your time at UMass Lowell? Was there one favorite moment?
I think probably just winning Hockey East. I think that's probably the easy answer. I know we've had like a lot of good memories, but at the end of the day, like just winning and being able to like party and like have fun with like the guys on the team after was just a blast, and I enjoyed every bit of that.
From Peter out in the audience, he says, you've talked about adversity you went through in your sophomore year. I imagine he looked at your conversation with Dom Procopio, but he says, you've talked about adversity you went through in your sophomore year. How did that experience make you into the player that you are now? What did you learn from that experience, and what did it do to fight through it?
Well, I think I sort of just reinvented my game after that. I thought after my freshman year that it was almost going to come easy. Like I 1 year in the league and we won right away. It's like it's easy to let your head get a little bit too big, and I think that might have been what happened. And so just reinventing myself. And then I read some books on sort of mental toughness and different like strategies where if I got in a hole or something like that again, it was easy to get out of. And I think that's really helped me over these last couple of years.
Charles out in the audience says, Tyler, hey, Tyler, he says, congratulations on the mechanical engineering degree. I just wanted to say thanks for coming back for your senior year. It was so great to see you dominate so well. And he says he looks forward to seeing you in Madison Square Garden. And I guess he doesn't really include a question, but since she says, thanks for coming back for your senior year, I'm just curious if for you there was a point at which you said, where you had to make a decision, do I sign after junior year or do I come back for my senior year? Was that just an easy decision?
Yeah, it was a decision, but it was a pretty easy one for me. I mean, I was like, I knew that I had one more year in me to sort of make a bigger impact on the team. And I knew we had a really strong team coming back and that we'd be able to do some damage. And I mean, regular season wise, we were. So I think that plus the fact that I would just be finishing my degree and there'd be just like a sense of completement and just finish with everything, I think that was a huge part for me as well.
Nick Langerang writes and says, congratulations on the contract with the Rangers. He looks back at some of the adversity faced in sophomore year and says, did the workout routine change between sophomore, junior, and senior years? Or was it more a mental change?
Definitely more of a mental change. I think my workout, my work ethic has always been there. It's like even freshman year, sophomore year, it's been the same pretty much. The only thing that changed is sort of games that I wouldn't play. I would get the chance to work out on those days, so I was probably a little bit stronger in that year than maybe like the previous years when I was playing more. But I would say it was definitely more of a mental shift than anything else.
You mentioned earlier some of your teammates. Colby writes and asks, who was your favorite player to play with? So I guess they're saying, who's your favorite teammate? And I say tread lightly because I suspect a number of your teammates will hear what you say.
Yeah, that's a tough one to answer. I don't know where I'm going to go with this one. I guess the guys that I roomed with were always some of my favorite. These last 2 years been Colin and Kenny. My first 2 years, it was Winkler. I don't know if you guys remember him before he transferred. So I've had a lot of fun with those guys. And then even some of like, I had a lot of fun with like Kandata and Seth and like those guys this year. I don't know. I mean, I was friends with the whole team. So I don't know. It's hard for me to just single out one guy, but I think this group, especially this year, was just a really like close group and it was easy to get along with everyone.
I'm always amazed because there is turnover from year to year, but this team, and maybe it's true with all sports or all teams, but it seems as though freshmen get welcomed in very easily and very quickly, and the bonding takes place in a lot of cases almost before the season begins during the summer workouts.
Yeah, for us, it's nice because we're in here every summer. I know a lot of teams, they do like just the freshmen come in together or whatever. So like they get close, but they're not really part of the team yet until everybody's together. But with us being like the whole team in there the whole summer, it's like really easy to mesh together. And I think that gives us a little bit of an advantage for like the first few games of the season because we've been playing together for probably like a month more than most teams.
I should note, and you had been asked earlier, I asked a question that someone had submitted about favorite teammate. We also got the same question from LP30, who says, likes the Rangers. Who was your favorite teammate? You've already answered that. I won't ask you to answer it again, but I did want to acknowledge that he had sent in a question. This one from John Krumloff says, I think you switched from CCMs to Bowers after your freshman year. Did the switch have anything to do with the sophomore slump?
Yeah,
I don't know if people are
after,
caught up in the. Go ahead.
I think I switched after the sophomore year, And yeah, that was more of just I need to change something. Felt like maybe the Bauer, like it was a little bit of a mental thing, but it was also like the Bauer rep like came in and they came out with like a new sort of lineup that I really liked. So I figured I'd try it out. So I originally planned to just try it out in the summer, see how I liked it, and then maybe just stick with CCM. But I just loved it in the summer and just kind of ran with it.
All right, this one from fan Scott Kaplan says, was the decision to sign with the New York Rangers an easy one, or did you think about waiting until August and becoming a free agent?
Oh, I definitely thought about it. I think at the end of the day, it just came down to like those guys took a chance on me back when I was playing for the Flyers. Like nobody really knew who I was back then, and they still drafted me and have been working with me these last 4 years. They have one of the best goalie coaches in the NHL with Benoit Allaire. And I think just like the fact that it's New York Rangers, like original six team, Madison Square Garden, like their fans, just like everything, just like all those aspects, like coupled together, it's just definitely one of the best places to be in the NHL. So I think that sort of made it easy for me at the end of the day.
All right. Curious from Sean Smith says, hey, Tyler, congratulations on finishing university. What is your favorite nickname that your teammates gave you?
um, uh, I don't know. There's some that I probably shouldn't say, but I think just like Brick Wall or like Wallsy, like those kind of ones are obviously the ones that they use most. So I don't know. Normally they would just like call me Ty or Wallsy, like something like that. It's kind of weird to sort of like talk to somebody as like Brick Wall, like what's up, man? Just something like that. So I don't know. Wallsy was definitely probably the most used.
Oh, let's see. I don't know, but someone asks, what's your favorite brand of pads? And I suspect maybe you've answered that a little bit, but what the heck? Um, Jay Gagney 13 wants to know, what's your favorite brand of pads, sir?
Yeah, it's definitely Bauer. I've had them the last 2 years. Really like them. I think my favorite part is just the glove is probably my favorite glove that any sort of brand makes. So that's like the biggest thing for me. I need a glove that feels like the most like a baseball glove because I used to like play baseball when I was younger. So I think when I'm deciding on like what set to use, I pretty much base it on the glove and then get the matching stuff. So that was sort of the biggest thing for me, I guess.
What position did you play when you played baseball?
I was a catcher.
I guess that's to be expected.
Yeah, sort of works out.
Catching foul tips is like catching a deflection. Anyway, that said, I believe and John Boswell may jump in here and tell me I'm crazy, but I believe Jacob Finn had a question that he wanted to ask.
All right, so Jacob, you're unmuted if you want to ask it.
He wanted to know if goalie was your first choice for position that you originally wanted to play or not.
No, definitely not. I wanted to be a goal scorer when I first started. I like when I was younger, I told the coach, I was like, everybody had to be goalie one time. I was like, just skip me. I'm never going to be a goalie. So just let me play forward sort of. And then he was like, no, like everybody has to once. So I was like, okay, like I'll try it. And then that one game, just I loved it so much that I just never looked back from it pretty much.
A couple of non-questions here that I'll pass along to you, Tyler. Sandra St. Ange says, hi, Tyler. Miles wants to know what brand do you recommend for pads? And he's your number one fan. You've already answered the pads question, but he did want to say he's your number one fan.
Yeah, I remember Miles. I used to love seeing him in the crowd.
Logan, and Logan also asks, who's going to be your favorite new teammate and maybe I'll rephrase the question because you probably haven't met your teammates yet, but are there anybody in the Ranger organization with whom you've crossed paths in your hockey career? Are there people you already know?
I think just guys I know from camp. Like I've gotten to know like Barron and Huska and like some guys like that. I know like the Mowski's on the Wolfpack right now, so like obviously I played 3 years with him. Um, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to just making new friends with the guys on the team. That's always like one of the most fun parts about like switching teams is just like getting a whole new group of friends and like just going with it. So yeah, it's one thing I'm really looking forward to for next year.
Jack O'Keefe writes and he says, I've always wanted to ask you this. When BC hit the post with seconds left in the Hockey East Championship game, I assume he's talking about 2017, how loud did it seem to you? He says he can still hear it.
Yeah, definitely. I can too. There's like 3 seconds left or something like that. And I remember hearing it, but nobody was cheering. So I kind of just stood still and it like bounced weird and like came right out in front of the net still. And then they like shot it off my pad or something and went into the quarter. So yeah, that was, that was a pretty lucky bounce, but I mean, I'm happy with how it worked out, obviously.
Oh, we all are. I was going to say my attitude about pucks that hit the post means the goalie did the job. He had the angle cut. He had the angles cut down. That was the only place the person could get it. Remember, a shot that hits the post isn't a shot on goal.
Yeah, that's what I would always tell my teammates when they would hit the post in practice. If it would have been on net, it would have been in my glove.
Do you guys have a lot of fun in practice?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a lot of chirping that goes on between me and my teammates in practice. I know like Kenny was one of the guys that would get under my skin sometimes, so we would take it too seriously sometimes, but yeah, there's a lot of chirping that went on.
From Nick Langerang, he says, Langerand, I should say, he says, looking at what, in my opinion, his opinion, should have been voted the Hockey East Save of the Year, can you talk about the diving save against Amherst? I assume that was John Leonard. And what was going through your mind in that in a scramble situation like that? And this,
yeah, well, that was just a weird play because like we were down on the 5-on-3, so obviously like you're almost expected to score on 5-on-3s, but the shot came from the point. It was like on net, but got blocked in front and then passed to the guy back door. And since it was a 5-on-3, like nobody was there to cover that guy, so I just sort of dove over and hoped for the best type of thing, and luckily it went in my glove. I don't know. There's not much thinking in a save like that. It's sort of just, I don't know, do whatever you can to get a piece of your body in front of it.
Rosemary writes and says, best of luck in New York. We will miss watching you play in Lowell. Logan, by the way, is getting a conversation going with you. He says he's a catcher too. Jason Sicklick says, hi, Tyler. The students in the student section just wanted to say thank you for an amazing 4 years. You guys notice the student section at games?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the first thing we notice. Like me and Kenny and O'Neill would always like look up the seat availability to see like how many people were going to be at the game, like on the way to over to the rink. And obviously it doesn't like count in the student section. So while we're ripping around in warm-ups, we're always looking to see like how packed it'll be. And sort of those like special like t-shirt giveaway nights, we always get pretty amped for because we know it's going to be a packed house. Or when we're playing like BC, BU, like any of those teams are obviously really exciting for us, seeing the whole student section.
Scotty Hockey writes in, he says, what are your expectations for this fall? What have the Rangers said as to what you should expect?
Well, it's hard to expect anything right now with everything sort of up in the air. I think once the season gets going, just my expectations are just give my team a chance to win every night. It's not a single man effort, so I think winning's sort of the most important thing. You can try to like there's things you can do during the process, like how like your workout schedule and stuff that you can control, but in terms of like oh, I'm gonna have this save percentage and stuff. Like you can hope for it, but I think it's more important to have like process oriented goals as opposed to sort of like end goals and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. You talk about process goals. Um, BLO3 had asked, what are your goals with the Rangers? You've kind of answered that. But when you talk about the process, I assume one never feels as though they're finished learning, finished getting better. Are the particular things you're focusing your attention on? These are the things that I want to work on the most?
Yeah, in terms of off ice stuff, I'm trying to get my conditioning up a little bit. I mean, obviously, there's a lot more games in the AHL and the NHL than in college, so that's something I'll need to work on this summer. Flexibility is always something that I work on in the summer. Obviously, prevents injury, and for a goalie, it's so important. Like being able to do the splits and stuff like that can save you in some like desperate situations. In terms of on ice stuff, I guess one thing I wanted to improve on, just getting a little bit more confident with playing the puck. I know that's like a big thing at the next level, so I'm looking forward to working on that once I can get back on the ice.
Linda writes and says, from a fellow engineering graduate, congratulations on your degree. How are you preparing to transition to the professional level? Do you foresee tweaks to the way you play the position? And I think you've kind of, with the last question, answered it, but I figured it needed to be asked. So have a go at it.
I guess the biggest sort of tweak is there's a lot of more east-west play instead of north-south. So I'll probably stay a little bit farther back in my net than probably like I'm able to do with Lowell's system. But it'll just be learning on the fly, seeing what kind of system we're running in Hartford or in New York, and sort of basing my game off that. There's a lot of reading and reacting in the goalie position, so it's just learning and trying to make the best of sort of whatever like situation you're put in.
Now you say New York or Hartford. Harry says, do you know what team you're going to be on?
I think it's pretty set in stone that I'll be starting in Hartford. Obviously, if things go according to plan, anything can happen, really, you know. But I think that's a plan going forward.
Brandon writes and says, this is his favorite Zoom meeting. He's having a great time. John Krumloff says, who was the most challenging shooter to face on the Riverhawks? These would be people I assume you face in practice. Who was the most challenging UMass Lowell shooter?
That's a tough one. I'd say Lee was pretty tough because he has that long reach, so he can start it out far and then bring it in for like a toe drag, and it kind of messes with your angles as a goalie. I know he's like 7'10", so it's sort of hard to read his stick. So yeah, he can get on my nerves sometimes when he gets a couple past me.
Scott Kaplan also asks for observations on teammates. He says, since you've seen him more in practice than the rest of us, what should Lowell fans expect from Logan Neaton?
Oh, expect big things. I mean, if he had the chance to play this year, he would have done really well with this team. And next year, I'm looking forward to seeing how he does and how he progresses. Works really hard in practice, and you can tell that he's just itching to get out there, and he's going to be a huge part of this team next year. And I think he's going to bring a lot of success to this program for sure.
I know I've heard him talk, and I've heard some of the coaches talk about kind of you mentoring him. And he learned a lot by watching and talking with you. Is that something during the season that was kind of on your mind about working with Logan?
Yeah, I think Logan and just all the younger guys in general, I think that's sort of your responsibility as a senior to make sure the team chemistry is where it needs to be. And I think Neaton as a goalie, a freshman goalie, I think just showing him some tricks that I learned over the 4 years to make his transition a little bit easier is obviously the least I can do. So
This question comes from Brandon. He says, how many people have you made friends with in hockey? And I will add my own question. You get the feeling that the teammates that have become your friends are people who you remain friends with for the rest of your life?
Yeah, 100%. Even like my friends from Leamington here are all like pretty much buddies that I played hockey with growing up. So I think I would say the majority of my like best friends and closest friends are um, guys that I've met through hockey and will remain friends with even like after I'm done in Lowell and wherever this game takes me. I think, yeah, it's just one of the best parts about the game, just the hockey community and all the people you come in contact with.
I will say, just kind of an aside here, I'm told that Linda had her camera on, and I should have allowed her to ask her question. So I'll say, Linda, if you've got another question at some point, when I see you, we'll go to you and allow you to ask the question. That said, since I already asked Linda's question, shame on me, blame me, not Tyler. I will say this one comes from Sean Smith. He says, what was your favorite subject in school? And what are some of the things you like to do in your free time?
In terms of school, we had this computer-aided design class that was pretty interesting. It was kind of fun because we could just like come in and sort of work on stuff at our own pace. We could even like listen to music, so it was pretty chill. Basically, all we did was come in. We would have like different things to build on the computer, and we would just go through it. And then at the end of it, we had like a big test where we had certain things we had to make, and if you made it, you got 100. If you didn't, then I don't know, sort of your grade represented that. But I think that was probably the most fun class that I've had. In terms of stuff that I do outside of hockey, I love to draw. That's sort of like one passion that I've always had since I was young. Just creative side that sort of comes out in like my masks and stuff like that. Other than that, just like hanging out with friends, doing stuff like that. I don't know.
No, that's a pretty full answer. This comes from Jessica Petroselli. She says, despite my son and wife being diehard Bruin fans, I am a lifelong New York Ranger fan who looks forward to seeing you make it in the NHL. Honestly, I have the car packed for trips to Portland and Hartford already, and we'll see, and I guess see you mature before making it to Madison Square Garden. Thanks for a great season. Can you say hi to my son, the one in the goalie mask at all of the games, who's a diehard Tyler Wall fan?
Yeah, I'll definitely say hi to him if I see him or after the game or whatever. I'll do my best to reach out to you guys and say hi when I can.
Hey, I got to ask, I'm curious, because I see you guys go off the ice and high five fans, especially the youngest fans. Whether you win or lose, is that kind of tough because it's been a frustrating night?
Yes and no. I think if you're extremely mad, maybe sometimes you don't, but I think it's just part of the game. I think you should always high five the little kids when you're going by. I know when I used to be younger, I would always get so amped if like one of the players would give me a high five or something. So I know how much it means to those kids because that's how much it meant to me when I was that age. So I think just returning the favor sort of when you're in like a position like I am is just really important. So
Richard Lockhart says, what is your assessment of your potential playing time with the Rangers, given their current goalie is reaching retirement age? I'm not sure that he hasn't already stepped away from New York, but anyway, what's kind of your assessment?
yeah, I'm not really too focused on what they're doing in the NHL right now. I'm more focused on just working in Hartford and trying to get wins for that team and sort of just progressing and then see where it takes me. Obviously, trades happen and stuff like that happen, so I'm just focusing on sort of the stuff I can control and then just working from there.
And let me, I'm trying to figure out where I want to go next here. I guess you mentioned knowing some of the fans. Logan out there says, "Do you remember me, Tyler?"
Which one's Logan?
There he is.
Yeah, I remember you. I remember all your guys' faces.
From Jason Sicklick, he says, "Is there any UMass Lowell hockey alum who you're looking forward to playing against in the American Hockey League or in the National Hockey League?"
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing against like my teammates CJ and like Gambo again. Even yeah, I would say those two are sort of the two that I'm looking most forward to because they've always been on my end, so I've always been like sort of happy to have them like scoring goals for me. So it'll be interesting to see what it's like to play on the other side of the puck.
You know, people mentioned they were Ranger fans or they were Bruin fan. Growing up, were you, I'm guessing, Leamington, Ontario, were you a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, or did that have nothing to do with your fandom?
No, I was a Leafs fan for sure. My dad was a Leafs fan, so I think for any kid growing up, pretty much picks the team that his dad's a fan of. So we would always watch those games when we were younger. And Ed Belfour was the goalie at the time, and Cujo and like those guys. So those were guys that I really looked up to when I was younger.
I'm curious, and I don't know the answer, but was there hockey in the family? Did Dad play hockey? I don't know if you had brothers or sisters. I know very little about. I watched you play on the ice. That I know about. I don't know about all of your background, but was there hockey in the family growing up?
My brother played hockey. He's a year younger than me. My parents never played hockey, but my dad like loves to watch it. But yeah, me and my brother, we had like a little asphalt pad in our backyard, and we would just play endless hours in the backyard with our neighbors and stuff. And I think that's where the passion for the game really started. And it was nice because my brother was a player, so I could suit up in the goalie gear and have him shoot on me when we needed to. A couple years, we even made like a little ice rink back there. So yeah, we've had a lot of fun just between me, my brother, and sort of the neighbors that I've had. So I'm pretty lucky to be in that situation.
Nick Langerang has a question. He says, "You answered the question about where you expected to be in the Ranger organization. Do you see that either increase or decrease in the number of starts you'll get affecting your game cardio-wise? That will obviously depend on whether you're a starter or backup in Hartford." I'm, to be honest, and forgive me, I may have fouled up his question, but seems to be asking if the number of starts you get affects the shape you're in, and what do you do about it?
I haven't noticed it so far. Like in the college game, I don't think it's too hard to be able to last 2 games a week. It'll be interesting to see once if I'm playing like if I have a heavy workload, if that'll affect me at all. I don't think it will, just because I've always had a pretty good cardio, so I think I'll be able to handle it, but it'll definitely be a different change for me.
Well, we find, Tyler, that some people are very observant, looking to see what's on your walls, and noted that over your right shoulder, or behind your right shoulder, we see what appears to be a Toronto Maple Leaf goaltender's picture up on the wall. And they were curious who that is. This was Jay Gagne 13 wants to know who's the picture of.
Yeah, that's Bernier from the Winter Classic. I got that one year from Christmas. It's got like the brown pads, so that was one thing I really loved. I got the Rolling Stones poster there too. I don't know. I like to decorate my room with a little bit of stuff, so keeps it interesting.
Indeed it does. Indeed it does. Linda had a question. Go to her. I'm gonna see if John wants to spotlight Linda so that she can ask a question that has to do a little bit about mental toughness. So let's see if we can make this work. Linda, you're up.
Hi.
I hope.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes.
Hi, Tyler. Thanks for spending the afternoon with us here. Just a question. You had mentioned you had read some books on mental toughness, and that's
Mhm.
something that's important in every aspect of life, certainly outside of hockey too. Are there any that you'd recommend?
Yeah, the two that I found the best were there was one called 90% Mental and another called Mind Gym.
Hmm.
So those were the two that I got definitely the most information from. They're both like sports related, so they were really helpful for me. I
Awesome.
think I think that Mind Gym one is actually used for like military and different stuff like that. The 90% Mental is like um a former like baseball pitcher. So it was
Mhm.
like really applicable to me as a goalie because you're sort of in the same position. But
Awesome. Thank you. Good luck.
yeah, no problem.
And I'll say this again. I see we've got a question from Logan, and I actually do see the top of his head on my screen. Um, I don't know if
Who
if
was your
well,
idol growing up, Tyler?
Ed Belfour. Yeah, he was. I don't know if it was, well, he was obviously a really good goalie, but I think the biggest thing for me was sort of his mask. As much as that shouldn't be a factor, I thought it was so cool that he was kind of my idol just for that reason alone, almost.
you said you didn't start out as a goaltender, Tyler. Did you eventually fall in love with the equipment, or was it just became kind of tools of the trade? Or as a kid, did you suddenly love the equipment?
Yeah, I always loved the equipment. I think that's probably one of the biggest things for like any goalie. I remember one Christmas I got like a new pair of like goalie pads for Christmas, and I would just like wear them around the house like every day. I just like loved having them on so much. If I would like go to my grandparents' house, I would bring like my goalie pads with me. Obviously, like I was really young, so it was, but like yeah, I think that aspect was always there for me. It was one of my favorite parts of being a goalie.
Tyler, I think we've had you talking for about 45 minutes or so. So I don't have additional questions at this point. I'm not going to ask for any additional questions. I will just say, purely as a guy that got to watch you for 4 years, it was an absolute pleasure for me to watch you and describe what you were doing. Sometimes I had to learn new words in the dictionary to explain how you stopped pucks, but you did. For me, it's been a delight, and I think for all of those who've been on this call, I'd say we wish you just a tremendous hockey future and all sorts of success in life. I know purely from my point of view, where I have to go interview you at times, you've been an absolute gentleman, and I appreciate it and wish you all sorts of success. But we thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, the pleasure's been all mine. Thanks to all you guys that joined the call for your support over the years. Obviously, it means a lot. Maybe you don't think it does, but makes a huge difference for us as players. And Bob, obviously, you've always been a fun guy to talk to, and I've appreciated that aspect. You haven't tried to make me look bad in the media at all. Not yet, at least. So appreciate it.
No, don't worry. I don't think anybody can make you look bad. You're absolutely terrific. I'll turn things back to John Boswell if he wants to tell us anything that we need to know from a future of this standpoint. But again, Tyler, well, thank you very much for 4 terrific, entertaining years. But thank you simply for being you and handling questions and so on. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thank you, Tyler, obviously, for not only 4 years, but for joining us today, and Bob for hosting this and redirecting your basic questions. And also thank you to all of you who've joined us. I don't know if everybody got a chance to see in some of all the different videos that are popped up, but a lot of hockey gear on, a lot of hockey gear visible. I think I saw one of your own sticks there, Tyler, floating around if you're looking for it. But
Yeah, I saw that one.
thank you, everybody. We will have a recording of this that we can share with you probably within the next 24 hours. And, good luck, Tyler, as you take that next step professionally.
Thank you. Appreciate it.